My favorite art books, part 4. They're in no particular order, and the links to these books are in the description below. Vibrant Oils by Haiti Jo Summers. So at the beginning, she has a lot about how to work with oils, how to thin them out to the consistency that you need. Here's an exercise where you make a painting using limited brushstrokes. So here's a painting of a bird with some flowers, painted with just 20 brushstrokes. I like this where she shows the progression of a painting over those 2 hours. So in the beginning, she's laying it out, and then within the first hour, she has most of it covered. The second hour is spent mostly building up texture and details. Most of the book is about painting alla prima, which means you paint it in one layer in one session. But she also talks about building up layers in a painting. And that requires thinning the paint down with solvent for the initial layers, and then you add more oil as you build up additional layers. And that's the fat over lean principle. Plein Painting with Oils by Haiti Jo Summers. This book has a lot of good tips about plein air painting. Even just in the first few pages, it already had an influence on me. She says, why not make a start right now? There's no time like the present. You can come back and read more when it's dark. So I painted these squash leaves on my neighbor's fence. She covers all the equipment and supplies that she uses, including the colors, palette, and the pochade boxes. What I really like about this book though are the exercises. Here's one about improving your visual memory by looking at a photograph for 10 minutes and then trying to paint it from memory. Another popular exercise is painting against the clock. So these are 20-minute paintings and these are hour-long paintings. This book is really good. If you're into plein air painting, I recommend you pick it up. This is Easy Oil Painting by Estelle Day. The beginning projects are simpler, like this painting of an egg, and they get more advanced as you progress. I thought I would do the one of a silver pitcher. I'll start with this big shape on the side, and I'll just block in the color. This right side is pretty dark, so I'll just put that in there almost as like a solid color. Step 8 is to build up more color in the reflected areas. I'll put in this highlight color, which is mostly this purple with some white added to it. Step number 10 is to paint the opening. Step 12 is to work on the background. She used permanent green light, yellow ochre, and titanium white to mix that color. Step 14 is to refine the cast shadow. The rest of the steps are basically refinements. So here's the final painting. I added some more details to it. I highly recommend this book. You should pick it up and give it a shot. This is The Beginner's Guide to Oil Painting by Craig Stevens. He graduated with an art degree in 1993 and went on to teach art to at-risk high school students for over 2 decades. Craig's paintings have a great deal of color and texture. He also has a great sense of how to simplify a subject. This book covers the materials that he uses and includes a number of exercises. The beginning exercises are simple grayscale studies of cubes and spheres. I painted the simplified strawberry project and I had a lot of fun working on it. There are many other projects in the book that would be enjoyable to complete. This is The Art of Still Life by Todd M. Casey. The reproductions in this book are high quality, and there's plenty of beautiful paintings in here to look at. The first chapter is about materials, tools in your studio space. I like this section about props, and he recommends different types of props to start with. Fake fruit is good for beginners because it doesn't rot, but he also has a variety of fabrics so he can change the color of the background. And here's an example of where he made up a blueprint to use in the background for the still life painting. Here's an example of 3 sketches that he did for this finished painting. At the back of the book, there's a very in-depth, step-by-step guide. This is probably the most in-depth still life book I've ever seen. If you're interested in improving your painting skills, I recommend picking this up. Landscape Painting by Mitchell Albala. So this is important. He talks about 3 stages that you do for a painting. In the beginning, you want to do some preparatory work such as a thumbnail sketch or a color study so you can resolve the problems at a small scale before you even get started. Here's a color study of his that's 4.5 by 5 inches. The second stage is the underpainting where you can tone the entire canvas with the middle value. Here's an example where the underpainting is blue and he just wiped away the highlight areas. Once you have a completed underpainting, you can move on to adding colors to it. And that's stage 3, which is development. This painting started with an underpainting done in ultramarine blue. And that makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of blue in the water and the sky. I like this section about using photographs like an artist. So here's a good example that he took this photograph, cropped it down to a square, and totally invented the color scheme. This book has a lot of good tips and techniques for landscape painting. I highly recommend it. This is Light and Color by Ian Stewart. He talks about the differences between a sketchbook and painting on watercolor paper. And in fact, he has a comparison of how the paint looks different on watercolor paper compared to how it looks on a sketchbook. There's a series of demos throughout the book, and I like his approach to color. You can see that right here where he doesn't use the colors that are actually in the scene. he invents his own color schemes. And he lists all the different colors that he uses for this painting, and there's little swatches of them down here. There's a section on capturing details such as boats, cars, and people. This is a good book on watercolor. It'll give you some inspiration when you go out to paint. I recommend that you pick it up and give it a read. This is Oil Painting Essentials by Greg Kreutz. In this book, he distills what he's learned about oil painting over the course of 40 years. One of the main points he stresses is you don't improve at oil painting through sheer repetition alone, but through gaining insights into the painting process. The four main essentials are accuracy, design, depth, and drama. Another important point is that he says you'll improve more if you work in multiple genres, rather than specializing in just one area. I really like how he broke the painting process down on this page. He has 4 basic steps: placement, background, shadow, and then light, and he has an example of each of those steps. I highly recommend this book. It's one of those art books that you'll keep referring back to. This is Painting with Impact by David Curtis. This is a good chapter. He talks about assessing the key elements of a subject. Those 3 elements are appeal, composition, and tone. Throughout the book, there are these picture profiles where he selects a painting and he discusses the location and his approach to the painting. So here's another one that's a watercolor and another oil painting. He discusses more practical topics such as choosing a color palette or working with a limited palette. He also has a chapter on themes and variations. So if you're looking for a subject that you can explore, this might give you some ideas. Towns and cities, there's a whole bunch of ideas in here that you could use for inspiration. Overall, I think this is a really good book. It should help you to become a better painter and develop a style. This is Dynamic Still Life for Artists by Sarah Sedgwick. This is a really good section on painting alla prima. The first step is underpainting, and you can start that by toning the entire canvas. Then you can begin sketching it out with your brush. You can also use subtractive techniques where you remove some of the paint with your brush to create highlights. The second step is color mixing, where you mix the basic colors. And then the final step is applying color. She talks about what she calls the 3 V's of still life, and that's variety, value, and vantage point. There's also some nice tips in the back about dealing with overwhelm and breaking the whole process down into smaller bites. This is a really good book. If you're into still life painting, I recommend that you pick it up. Beautiful Landscape Painting Outdoors by Michael Chesley Johnson. The beginning has a really good section on the different materials and setups that these different artists use. Here's a bike setup. I tried that on my handlebars one time. It's kind of fun. What I like about this book is it has a lot of great demos by different artists. For example, here's a painting demo by Nathan Folks of a cathedral. Kalia Wyson does an oil painting demo of sand dunes. I like this section on designing your painting effectively, and another part about seeing values. Here's a demo by Mark Hansen. I really like looking at all the different setups that artists use to paint outdoors. This is a good book on landscape painting, especially since it includes demos from different artists who work in a variety of mediums. If you're looking for more inspirational art books, you can watch my other art book videos next. If you found this video useful, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks for watching.